Morning, everybody. Welcome to Gracegate. We're a very small group of us today, so if you see seats in front of you, as Al said, or was it Bree? Sorry, it was Bree who said, come, please, come closer, let's make this nice and intimate. Stand up, come closer, please. Yes, I like this. Excellent, fill up those front rows. Welcome to Gracegate. I think I know most of you, but for those who I don't know, it would be rude of me not to introduce myself, and I've always kind of wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do speed dating. Has anyone actually tried speed dating before? Does it work? I don't know. Anyway, let's give it a go. So I'll go first. My name is Jamie. I am 23 years old, and I run a business called Zesty Design with my brother Will, who's down the back. We build websites, and we actually built the Gracegate website. We also do graphic design. We do all kinds of digital marketing stuff, basically. What else about me? I love music. Really like music. Anybody who's driven in a car with me can testify to this. If you're sitting in my back seat, you better be prepared for some pretty loud music. And I do apologize if you've been in that situation before. I've been in the worship team in Gracegate for about 8 years now, which is, yeah, it's actually quite a long time when you think about it. What else? Oh, I love sport. Really love sport. I'm a goalkeeper in football. I've never played soccer before. Don't know what it is. Yeah, I know. I don't even want to try soccer, but yeah. Football's my sport. And I love tools, which is something that you might not know about me. Like tools, like hammers and screwdrivers and stuff. It's a little bit embarrassing, actually. If I walk into Bunnings or Mitre 10, I'll see this wall of tools, and I'll just need every single one of them. Do you ever get that? Does anybody get that? Yeah, I don't know what it is, eh? Like, I've been walking there with Naomi before, and she's had to like pull me away from tools. I can't afford them. I've got no idea what they're for, but I just need them. I don't know why. And it is a little bit weird, but maybe it's because like there's potential there to create something awesome. I don't know what it is. But because I love tools, I brought my toolbox today. How cool is that? It's a little bit small. It's not the biggest toolbox, but it's going to get bigger over the years, I promise you this. But can I show you some of my tools? Is that okay? Yeah? Awesome. Thank you. You guys are so welcoming and receptive. Should probably get it the right way around, though. Okay, so in my toolbox, again, it's pretty small, so please don't laugh at me if you're a tradie. But the first thing that any toolbox has is a Stanley knife, right? A craft knife. Even if it's for the sole reason of opening the packaging of other tools. Okay, I think that's what I've used it for more than anything else, is to open other tools. So I've got my craft knife. I've got an assortment of screwdrivers, which are immensely handy. I'm sure you know that. Got a couple of Phillips heads, flathead screwdriver as well, and these are just handy for fixing things around the house. Building flat pack furniture. Does anybody actually enjoy building flat pack furniture? Yes, I agree with you. I'm glad everybody is in agreement. What else do we have? We've got a 38-piece ratchet socket set. Now, I won this, and I've never had a chance to use it. So if anybody needs a socket set, I'm not going to give it to you, but please give me the opportunity to use it myself. So if you've got something around the house that needs fixing with sockets, I would just invite me over, please. You don't even need to make me food. I will come for the sole purpose of using my tools. I love it. What else have I got? I've got pliers. Now, again, this is something that I haven't actually really used for their intended purpose. I use this mainly for cutting guitar strings. When a guitar's been restrung, it's got that little bit of string at the end, so I use that to snip it off. What else have I got? Oh, some command hooks or command strips for hanging up like paintings and stuff. And finally, some Allen keys. Yeah, here they are. No toolkit is complete without some Allen keys, right? They are the handyman tool that sometimes you need them. Yeah, so it's good to have a collection. Unfortunately, I've only got 2. But again, I'm hoping to build my collection over the years so that my collection of tools is something significant. Now, I didn't come up here today just to actually talk about my toolbox. I promise it's actually related to what I'm sharing. Today we're in the 4th week of our Generation Me, We series. In the first week, Jordan shared a little bit about this concept of purpose, which is a huge concept. What our purpose is, that we shouldn't let our culture define our purpose, but instead we should chase after what God's purpose for us is. And there's so much depth in that. If you haven't seen it, please go on the Gracegate website when it's up and take a look. It is awesome. In week 2, Walter spoke about leadership and influence and how we can lead by serving. He spoke about David and how he was significant to God before he was significant to others, which we can sort of extend into our own lives. And last week, Nate shared a really inspiring message about creativity and innovation, exploring what creativity is and how we should constantly remind ourselves who we were created by and what we were created for. So this week, we're going to talk about tools. So cool. I mean, like, as you can see, I could actually talk about tools all day, so please don't get me started on it unless you're prepared for that conversation. But anyway, today we're going to unpack these 2 tools. One's called intentional living, and one is called adding value, okay? So let's start off by defining what these are. I mean, they're pretty straightforward, but I think just so we're on the same page, it's worth going through what we mean when we say intentional living and what we mean when we say adding value. So let's start off with intentional living. When you're intentional about something, you're being deliberate, right? You're doing something on purpose. You have a reason for your actions. For example, you might be intentional in, I don't know, how you save money by putting aside a portion of your weekly income into your savings. That's making an intentional decision to save that money. You might be intentional in catching up with a friend on a regular basis who is going through a bit of a rough time. That's making an intentional decision. In a similar token, intentional living is about deliberately living life with intention, or in other words, an aim or a plan or a purpose. John Maxwell is an international leadership expert, right? And he takes this one step further, and he talks about the difference between having good intentions and living intentionally. Okay, they're not actually the same thing. You can have good intentions, but that doesn't mean that you're actually living intentionally. There is a difference. And he says, what does he say? He says that if you're not physically doing anything to actively impact your outcome, you're not living intentionally. You're just hoping for the best. Okay, that's what good intentions is. You're hoping for the best. Unless there is action, physically doing something, you're not actually living intentionally. Okay, so hold this over here. Intentional living is doing something deliberately or on purpose, living life deliberately. Let's move along to adding value. This is probably a little bit more straightforward to talk about. So the first word, adding. I mean, how much more basic could you get? It's one of the first things you learn in maths, and we do it all the time. We add things. So the definition of to add is to join something to something else to increase its size or amount. We do this all the time. We add numbers when we're buying more than one item in a shop, for example, to increase their value. We add songs to our playlists in Spotify, which increases their size. We add zesty design into our contacts list in case we come across anybody that needs a website. I mean, this is just stuff we all do all the time, right? Thank you. Yes. I can see some of you pulling out your phones now, so good on you guys. Add value to the world. Think zesty. The other half, value, is defined as, okay, it's a little bit more complicated, but this is what the internet says. Value is defined as the regard to which something is held to deserve. Okay? Now, that's just a really fancy way of saying the importance or the usefulness of something, right? How much worth something has. For example, items in stores have price values based on how much worth they are thought to have. Okay, now combining the 2 words together, they create this concept of adding value, which is essentially making something worth more than it already is. So let's recap for a second. Intentional living is doing life deliberately with a purpose. Adding value is increasing the worth of something. Make sense? Cool. So now let's look at how we can combine these 2 tools together, okay? And one of the really cool ways we can do that is we can combine them by intentionally adding value. See what I did there? Intentional living, adding value, intentionally adding value. Yeah, I know, right? To people, right? We can intentionally add value to the people around us. Now, I want to make a quick point here about the value that we can add to other people. I don't want you to think that we can increase people's worth, if that makes sense. I don't want you to think we have the ability to make somebody more valuable or worth more than they already are, because that would imply that they're currently less valuable than is actually the case, okay? We are all valued by God. In the Bible, in Genesis 1 verse 27, it says this. It says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. The key point of this is in his own image, okay? If we are created in God's own image, the guy that created the entire universe, if we're created in that image, we can already start to see that we have some kind of inherent value, right? But if that's not enough, Romans 5 verse 8, it says, God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us, right? Get this. The Son of God, the guy that created the universe, he's responsible for everything, the Son of God, who was also himself God, gave his own life for us even while we were still sinners, right? That is how much God cares about us. And this is how much God values us, more than we could possibly even comprehend. More than anything else matters. Jesus died for us. So please understand that when we talk about adding value to people, it's not about making people more worthy to ourselves or to God, because they are already valued by God, okay? Instead of that, we're talking about adding benefit to people's lives, or how we can help influence people's lives, okay? Because people are inherently valuable. So I just want to make that point really clear before we go on, okay? Jesus was the perfect example of a man who would constantly add value into people's lives during his time here on earth. I mean, he performed countless miracles and helped countless people. He restored sight to the blind. He gave identity to the people who were social outcasts. He healed the sick. He did all these kind of amazing things. A significant portion of his ministry was simply loving others and adding value into their lives. So to sum this up, a good way to think about intentionally adding value to people is this, and I love this quote. It says, leave people better than how you found them, okay? Leave people better with added value than how you found them. So let's do a bit of dreaming here for a second, right? How cool would it be if we lived in a world where every single person was concerned about the well-being of others, right? What if we actually made intentional decisions to add value into other people's lives? What if the first thing on our minds was, how can I add value to this person, okay? What would this look like? What do you think, honestly, what do you think the world would look like? It's hard to picture it because we don't actually currently live in a world where that is a primary focus. But a couple of things I jotted down is that there could potentially be less loneliness. People might feel more valued if there are more people adding value to their life. There might be more happy people. There's more giving. There's more receiving. There's this stronger sense of community if people feel as though they can rely on everybody else because they're all adding value to each other, right? And this would be awesome. But again, we live in this world where that is currently not the case. Our current culture often encourages us to focus on ourselves and our own happiness, which is, trust me, it's important to love yourself. Please don't get me wrong. It is really important. But sometimes our culture often overlooks the importance of adding value to other people as well. And we can see this in some of the largest businesses that exist today, where they don't value people, but as numbers or statistics, right? Okay, how many people here use Facebook? And don't worry, I'm not going to bag on Facebook. I use Facebook all the time. It is really fit for purpose. If you use it properly, it is a stunning tool. So please don't get me wrong, I'm not bagging on Facebook. But as some of you might be aware, they were involved in a recent scandal. Has anybody seen in the news that Facebook have been involved? Yeah, a couple of people. All right, that's awesome. So I'll fill you in. I'll give you a very, very quick summary of what happened. In 2013, a researcher from the Cambridge University built an app on Facebook, okay? This was a personality quiz. So the idea was that you could install this app onto your Facebook, fill out the little quiz, and then it would provide all this feedback about your personality, right? And in the process of doing that, it collects data about yourself. Now, the app was installed by approximately 300,000 people, which is just under 1/3 of 1,000,000. That's a lot of people, right? But I did a bit more research, and did you know that Facebook serves about 2 billion people around the world? 2 billion, that's like, what's that? That's just under 1/3 of the world's population. 1 in 3 people in the entire world, across all countries, across all continents. Staggering, absolutely staggering. So the 300,000 isn't actually that many in that context, but regardless, there are 300,000 people that have taken this quiz, okay? Now here's the thing. They agreed to share some of their own information, which is fair enough, but in addition, by taking this quiz, they actually agreed to share the details about their friends, whose privacy settings allowed it, okay? These friends didn't explicitly themselves say, yes, I would like to share my information with this app, okay? The 300,000 people unknowingly allowed access to their details, okay? It is estimated that the data of 87 million Facebook users was collected, right? So get this, there are 300,000 people taking the quiz, but the data of 87 million people was collected, okay? When you break that down, that is 1 in 290 people that said, yes, I would like my information to be shared. The other 289 people in those 290, they didn't give permission for their data to be shared, right? That is 0.34% of people who said, yeah, I want my data to be shared. So big uproar, as you can imagine. All this data is being collected about people that haven't said, yes, I would like to share my data. So Facebook caught wind of this. They said, guys, look, that's not on. Love that. Guys, that's not on. You've got to delete the data, okay? Because these people haven't agreed to it. So the quiz was like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. We'll delete the data. That's fine. They didn't. They passed it on to a company called Cambridge Analytica. Okay? Now, Cambridge Analytica are like a data marketing research firm, and they help clients with political campaigns. Okay? They use their research and their data and their information and statistics to help political campaigns. Can you see where this is going? Yeah, not fabulous, right? So they didn't actually end up deleting the data, and this was discovered in recent reports by The Guardian and the New York Times just this year, that this data might not have actually been deleted. Allegedly, and get this is insane, this data about all these people that didn't agree to it might have been used to influence the public opinion of enormous political campaigns, such as Ted Cruz, the US politician in 2015. This one caught me off guard, Brexit in 2016. The allegations are that this data was used to influence the public opinion of whether or not Britain should leave the EU. Ridiculous, right? And also, even more than this, Donald Trump's campaign, right? I mean, talk about a misuse of data, right? Ridiculous. So, but how crazy is it to think that we live in a world where large companies will collect, keep, and use our personal information without our consent for their own personal gain, right? That is not valuing people as people. That is valuing people as numbers and statistics. Okay? And it all comes back to this. It comes back to this me mentality, where instead of considering the actual value of people, we think about, what about me? What can I get out of this? What value can others add to me? Not what value can I add to others, but what value can others add to me? And this is something that we all struggle with at times. Let's be real, right? It's difficult to always try and add value to other people. Sometimes we don't feel like it. We're a little bit tired. And it's something we all struggle with. But it's like we're programmed to think of ourselves first. It's our natural response, and we need to be intentional if we're going to change this, right? And this can be hugely overwhelming. I know this sounds intense. This sounds difficult, okay? We've got this world that doesn't value people as people. How do we change that? It's an enormous task, right? But here's the thing. And if you take nothing away from today, please take this next point away, okay? This is the crux of it. This is the key, okay? You are equipped, okay? You are equipped. You have the tools to be able to change this. Each and every one of you here has the capability to add value into the lives of other people, right? God has given us the tools, and we need to start adding value into other people's lives. So let's pause for a second here. This is where I get to talk about my own tools again. Amazing. I love this bit. See, there are tools in here that I used to build some things. And I built these things, and I had a lot of fun building these things. And luckily for you guys, I have some photos of me building and having built these things. So let's take a look. This is me building a bed. I built this bed. This is me building a wardrobe for Naomi, and she helped me build it as well. It is enormous. I mean, Naomi's pretty short, sorry. But there's this wardrobe like towers above me as well. It's got all these doors and shelves and stuff, and that took like a full day, didn't it? But it was so much fun. These are some desks that Will and I built, and some chairs for our new office. We moved in here about a month ago, by the way. So this is what our office looks like. So I mean, point being that I used these tools that I have in my toolbox to build these things that are of value, right? That are useful. Get this. In the same way, we can use the tools that God has given us to build value into the lives of other people. Okay? We are equipped. Now, all throughout the Bible, we find examples of very unlikely people who already have the tools they need to achieve a certain task, but they don't necessarily realize they've already got those tools, okay? Take Moses for an example, right? Moses was this guy who had a stutter, and to put it politely, he was a bit of a nervous wreck. And yet God told him that he was to lead and save an entire nation, okay, to break them away from Pharaoh's ruling. The guy with a stutter was asked to negotiate with the king of Egypt to save 600,000 men, plus women and children. Okay? Guy with a stutter was asked to bargain with somebody, to talk, and convince them to free 600,000 people. I mean, how ridiculous is that? It doesn't get much bigger than that. And it certainly wasn't without his trials, but what do we end up with? He did it, right? We end up with the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. He did it. God made sure that Moses was equipped with what he needed to complete his task. He had the tools. Another example of this is Jesus' disciples. I mean, they were just ordinary blokes, right? Fishermen, doctors, tax collectors, all this kind of stuff, who Jesus tasked with sharing God's love and grace and what he's all about. And not only that, but to bring the entire world to salvation. I mean, imagine someone asking you to do that, right? Hey, here's the world, every single person in it. Now just go bring them to salvation. Like, just go save them all, right? The task doesn't get much bigger than that, okay? But here we are today, 2,000 years later, 2 whole millennia later, sitting here in church talking about God, okay? So they were clearly able to impact people, even if they didn't necessarily feel like they could. God gave them the tools to achieve the task. They were equipped. The last example I want to chat about is Jonah, okay? Does anyone know the story of Jonah? Yep. If you don't, he was given the task to go to the city of Nineveh and tell them that they needed to repent. Now, let me give some context here. This was a very, very bad city, okay? They did some unspeakable, horrible things. This is not a good place. So when Jonah was faced with this task, he jumped in and said, yes, I'll do it. No, he didn't. No, he ran away as far as he could, okay? He hopped on a boat and he gapped it. Long story short, he got tossed off the boat. He got eaten by a whale. A few days later, he popped out and ended up in Nineveh. So please read the story. It's actually quite good. But at the end of it, the city, they did repent, and he achieved his task. He had the tools. He didn't think he did, which is why he ran away, but he did. He had the tools. He was equipped. And there are so many others. So many others throughout the Bible. There's David, there's Joseph, there's Rahab, there's Esther. There are countless people who didn't believe that they had the tools, but they did. The point that I'm trying to get across here is that God equips all of us with the tools that we need for the tasks that he gives us. And some of these stories in the Bible start with some of the most unlikely heroes, okay? And this should give us confidence that we have the tools that we need, right? Doesn't matter what job you have. Doesn't matter what car you drive. Doesn't matter about your education, how much money you earn. Doesn't matter about your perceived social status, okay? We all have the ability to complete these tasks. We already have the tools that we need. We are equipped, okay? It doesn't matter how old you are or what generation you fit into. There are people of all ages in our world today and in recent history that have had a huge impact by adding value into other people's lives that are around them and beyond, okay? To name a few, Mother Teresa, how much of an impact did she have? Massive. Mahatma Gandhi, Emma Watson, Elon Musk, people of all different kinds of ages that are adding value to other people's lives, okay? So it doesn't matter what generation you fit into, you have the ability to make a difference, okay? Yes. So we're all equipped to make a difference. And this is really, really cool. We understand what it means to live intentionally and add value. We know that our culture isn't necessarily the best at it, and we know that we have the tools to fix it, right? But guys, really, why? Why should we bother? What's wrong with thinking about ourselves? I mean, it's a little bit good, isn't it? Like when you focus on yourselves and you just think about me. Why do we even need to change this? Why do we need to change this culture? Do we even really need to bother trying to add value to other people's lives? What benefit does that have? I mean, very obviously, if you're adding value to somebody's life, it will benefit them, right? Sure, they might get a door held open for them or a coffee bought for them or a smile even. But at a deeper level, you never know what kind of impact these small acts of kindness can have. Even just being there for somebody to listen while they explain a particularly rough week that they've been having, that's adding value, okay? And that might be enough enough hope to get them through the week. You never know how much of an impact you're going to have. See, we all have this sphere of influence, and the people that we interact with on a daily basis are in that sphere of influence. When we interact with somebody, or even if we're just around in the same place as somebody, they have entered our sphere of influence. Now think of those people that enter your sphere of influence on a daily basis, okay? Your friends, your family, your neighbors, the people that you're sitting right next to here today, right? They are in your sphere of influence. And with every single interaction that you have with these people, you have this unique opportunity to add value into their lives. Now think about this. What if you let that opportunity slide? What if you let that opportunity slide? What if you didn't add value to that person? What if you think, you know what, I don't feel like doing this today. I'm a little bit too tired. I'm not really up for it. Now imagine if every single other person in that person's sphere of influence was thinking the same thing. What if there is nobody that is already adding value to their lives, and you have passed the one opportunity to add value into that person's life? Pick up your tools and start adding value into people's lives. For those of us who are followers of Jesus, God actually calls us to add value into other people's lives. And again, Jesus was the perfect example of this. In John 13:34, we see him telling his disciples, "A new command I give to you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another." Right? Now this is absolutely mind-blowing, okay? And it's a revolutionary concept. Consider the world that we live in now, complete with this focus on ourselves, and compare it to what Jesus is asking of us here. He's giving us a new command, commanding us, by the way, not just saying, yeah, you know, if you feel like it, you should do this. He's commanding us, right? He's telling us that we must love one another, right? And it gets even bigger than that. Look at this. As I have loved you, right? The same God that gave his son for us is telling us that we must love each other in the same way that he has loved us. I mean, how insane is that? What kind of love is that? It is relentless. Pick up your tools and start adding value to people's lives. As counterintuitive as it might seem, adding value into other people's lives actually adds value into your own life as well. I mean, it might seem a little bit selfish, and it certainly shouldn't be the sole reason for wanting to add value to other people, but I mean, it feels good, right? I mean, think about the last time you bought someone a coffee or held the door open for them, or, I don't know, let a pedestrian cross when it wasn't really their right of way. We get that heaps in Auckland, but like, how good does it feel when you do something for somebody, right? It feels good. Not only that, but adding value to others and serving them means that we can discover more about God and his grace. By understanding that we can add value to people and the value that we can add to people, we understand more about God's love for us. And then we can grow in our faith in him as well. So how? Right? How do we add value to people's lives? How do we live intentionally and add value by intentionally adding value? How do we physically do this? At first, it feels overwhelming when you try to think about ways to add value into people's lives, but it really doesn't need to be anything major. You don't need to go and buy somebody a house. You don't need to buy them a car or give them a job or anything like that. They can be really, really small things. Okay? These are fabulous things, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that big. You don't know what impact these little things, these little bits of value you're adding are going to have, right? It could be as simple as asking somebody about their week. And I don't mean just asking, guys. I mean really asking. Like wanting to know the answer, wanting to listen to the answer. Helping somebody with a task that they're struggling with. Taking your tools and your 38-piece socket set to their house, please, and helping them with whatever task that needs accomplishing. Engaging in a conversation with the person who's off to the side, sitting by themselves here today at church or anywhere else, go and have a conversation with them, add value into their lives. Doesn't need to be a massive, massive thing. Look for opportunities to help. Have a mindset of serving others. Identify a need in somebody's life and take action. Pick up your tools and start adding value into people's lives. In Colossians 3, verse 23, we're encouraged to it says this, sorry. It says, whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. If you were working for God, how would you work? If you were working for God, how much effort would you put in? Right? The guy that created the entire universe, how much effort would you put into your job? Would you think, you know what? I'll just scrape on by. I'll just kind of fly under the radar. No, you wouldn't. He's the guy that created you. He's the guy that created the whole world. You would give it absolutely everything. And this is what we're finding that we're being told to do here, right? Work at everything, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as if you were working for the Lord. Take that work ethic of giving it everything and apply it when you add value to others. Do it wholeheartedly. Add value relentlessly. Pick up your tools and start adding value to people's lives. This is fabulous, right? But when should we do it? I mean, think about it. We're busy people. We lead very, very busy lives. We have a lot of things on. Take your 24-hour day, for example, okay? In a typical working day, you might spend 8 hours sleeping, hopefully. I need about 10, by the way. Last night I got about 6. So, yeah, anyway. About 8 hours working, 1 to 2 hours commuting, 1 to 2 hours running errands, maybe an hour preparing food and eating. And when you crunch all these numbers, you find that you've got about 3 to 5 hours roughly in a day for yourself. And this is precious time, right? And our instinctive response is to want to spend this adding value to ourselves. So, you know what? Actually, thinking about it now, let's just wait till we're retired. That's it. Yeah. Because if we've currently only got 3 to 5 hours now that we can rearrange our schedule to fit in adding value, let's wait until we're retired. We don't have to spend those 8 hours working necessarily, and then we'll have more time to add value to people. That's it. That's what it is. Then I'll have time because I'm focusing on myself, but then I can also focus on other people, right? No, sorry. That's it. It sounds lovely, but we don't have time to wait, okay? The length of our lives here on this earth in the context of the life of the entire planet is minuscule, right? If we want to change our culture to start adding value to people and start valuing people as actual people and continuously adding value into each other's lives, we need to start now. Pick up your tools now. Sure, your days might be busy, and I get it. I really do, guys. I'm very busy as well. I've got a lot of things on. It's hard to find time to do the stuff that I'm already doing. Okay, there just aren't enough hours in a week. But instead of trying to set aside time, to find more time, to rearrange your schedule to add value to other people's lives, try work it into your current schedule, right? Add value in everything that you're currently doing. Do it when you buy the groceries. Add value to people when you buy the groceries. Add value to people at work. Add value to people when you're running the kids to school. Add value when you're at school or at work, okay? Add value to people when you're hanging out with your friends. Do you see the pattern? Imagine if we were to add value to people in everything that we do. Imagine if every single person did this. Imagine this culture that we could create. We have the power to do this. We really do. And it starts here now, today. It starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with us as a church, as a community, as a collective. It starts right here, right now. Let me ask this question. What legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want to be remembered for? We have this ability to revolutionize our culture and leave behind a world for generations to come that has a focus on how we can add value to other people. And the thing is, it's so simple. Again, you don't have to get a new job. You don't have to quit what you're doing. You don't even have to rearrange your schedule, okay? All you have to do is change your mindset and choose to be intentional about how you add value into other people's lives. Think about where you can add value in your sphere of influence. Look for opportunities. There is plenty of need out there. There really is. There really is so much need for it out there. God is calling us to take action. And He's already equipped us with everything that we need. Pick up your tools and start adding value into other people's lives. Let's pray. God, I thank you that you've given us these tools, whether we realize it or not, to have an impact on other people's lives. And I pray that we can go away here today thinking about how we can add value into other people's lives with whatever it is we do, whether it's buying the groceries, getting lunch here at Gracegate afterwards, going for coffee. I pray that you help us to remember that you have called us and you have equipped us to add value into other people's lives. And I pray that you'll be with us for the remainder of this day, Lord. And thank you for the God that you are. Amen.